relationships that men engage in. Number one is what we'll simply call the good old boy relationship. Simply put, this is being present but no disclosure. So you'll play golf together, you'll go to the movies together, you'll go to bars together. In Christian communities, you may even serve at church together. But you will know very little about the other guy, and you'll share very little about the other guy. And this is deep because if you're not careful and you don't really analyze and critique these different types of relationship, what can happen in these types of relationship is you can build up a great portfolio or resume of funny stories, and yet at the same time, you'll know very little about the other man. You'll have jokes that you laugh at, you'll have inside jokes, but what we're talking about is deeper relationship. The next type of male relationship or friendship that men have is what we call, or what will be termed, one-point friends. In other words, you circle around one point or one common goal. It may be a work objective. In sports, it may be to win the Super Bowl or win a sporting event. There are many men or many friendships in the male arena that revolve around that one point, that one stated objective. But everything else is at an arm's length. This is why it's real dangerous. You can have a guy who's very successful in corporate America, and because he's the boss, everyone kind of kowtows towards him, and they rally around getting that corporate objective accomplished. And that man will be self-deceived into thinking that he's got many friendships. But what he has is really many one point or one common objective relationships. And once that objective is accomplished, there's nothing else to it. And yeah, they'll be emotional and excited about the accomplishment of that one objective. But again, there's nothing deeper outside of that. The next type of relationship that men have, and again we have to critique, is kind of when you have the leader-follower example. In other words, one is the mentor, one is the mentee. One is the boss, one is the subordinate. And again, these can give the illusion of closeness. But if you're not cutting blood, so to speak, if you're not talking about some of the deeper issues, if you're not talking about some things that you wouldn't want everybody to hear, if you're not sharing some things that you wouldn't want to be heard for public consumption, the chances are very high that, again, that relationship is staying at a very shallow level. And finally, the last type of relationship is the kind that we all should be after, and this is genuine friends. This is when you start out in one dimension, but the Lord starts resonating with you, and other dimensions start opening up, and the Lord starts resonating with you that this is a safe person. This is a person that you can go through life with. This is a person that you should be bouncing things off. This is a person that you should be reaching out to. And you know, when you think about it, all of these relationships, the different spatiality, really revolve around one thing, and that one thing is that men fear the loss of respect. See, when men get around other men, it's almost like they have a masculine bank. And when they do things that win points or kudos from other men, you hear this sound, ka-ching. And men are looking to, when they get around other men, only engage in things that they can feel they're hearing a ka-ching. So it's a very external world. It's numbers. How much do you make? How big's your staff? What do you shoot in golf? How much can you lift? How many women are in your black book? Whatever. It's a pure external bank where they're looking to hear ka-ching in the presence of another man. And they fear showing vulnerability because vulnerability doesn't give you a ka-ching. So much of what drives the male behavior rotates around the fear of loss of respect or not wanting to show weakness. And if we're going to become men who matter, we're going to have to, we can't allow that to be the catalyst for all of our decisions. It's amazing how free, and particularly as I get older, I'm almost envious how free and culturally acceptable it is for women to just share what's on their mind, and how culturally unacceptable it is for most men to do it. And everything, you know when you're listening, everything is being carefully filtered so that that man doesn't come off looking too bad. Now, as we get into these teaching series on becoming a man who matters, I want us to examine different Bible characters. Turn to Daniel. Different Bible characters to see what type of lessons that we can extract from them. Turn to the book of Daniel. It's the last of the major prophets. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. And we want to look at their lives. I have a 4-week teaching series on this man. In fact, I have one here tonight. So the purpose of what I'm about to share is not to cover the man's life in totality. I spent over 200 minutes analyzing his life. But I want to look at it and pull out some of the bold points, some of the bold prints that we want to understand if we're going to become men who matter. If I had to make one statement about Daniel, it would be simply this. Daniel lived an uncompromising life in a compromising world. If I'm going to become a man who matters, I'm going to have to purpose in my heart to live an uncompromising life in a compromising world. That really summarizes Daniel. If you look at Daniel 1:8, this is the scripture that to me summarizes his whole life. It says in Daniel 1 verse 8, it says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." If it's your Bible, underline the words, Daniel purposed in his heart. If you're going to become a man who matters, you're going to have to purpose in your heart. You're not going to become a history maker and a legacy leaver by accident. You're not going to have a good marriage by accident. You're not going to raise solid children by accident. You're not going to retire with money in your 401k by accident. We know that in life, the gravitational pull is downstream. We know that things left to their own get worse, not better. Just look at your sink. But it says, but Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile himself. Now, I like the name Daniel. For those of you who don't know, the name Daniel means my God is judge. I like that because Daniel said, since he purposed in his heart not to defile himself, he didn't go around trying to vindicate himself. He didn't go around trying to get revenge. He didn't go around falling prey to people approval. He didn't draw his identity by what other people in his surroundings said about him, because the majority of his life and his biographical sketch, which is in the first 6 chapters of the book of Daniel, Daniel's surrounded by nothing but player haters. With the exception of the 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the majority of people in the stories that we read about Daniel are people who were trying to do him in or were jealous of him.